This week's sermon for June 14th, Friday night, spirituality versus religion. So there has been a decline in attendance and membership in synagogues. But to paraphrase Bob Dylan, and we would not feel so all alone because everybody is experiencing a decline in attendance. It seems to be a social phenomenon that people are avoiding traditional houses of worship. There are, however, exceptions. Somebody recently cited Pew Research that evangelical Christians and megachurches are experiencing prosperity. In Judaism, it's kind of like a barbell. The Orthodox movement is growing ostensibly because, perhaps, people seek out religion for guidance, and traditional Judaism is very specific. Now, the Reform movement is growing because, well, they tend to be very progressive and a little bit more permissive. Conservative Judaism was the major movement in Judaism a few generations ago. It represented the middle of the road in which the halacha, Jewish law, wasn't that intense and still allowed to adapt to modern times. Now they say it's dying. Why? Well, first of all, as far as Islam goes, no idea what's going on with their houses of worship. But let's stop for a little survey and consider this. What do you think the difference is between spirituality and religion? And we'll make that point in a couple of minutes. So I'll pause here and you think about it. So, tough question, right? So let's try a working definition of each term. Spirituality is that part of us that seeks to identify and understand things that are beyond our level of reasoning. Spirituality is that belief that there is a greater force, mostly good, that controls and accounts for how our lives proceed and progress, and what forces interact with us and how they will turn out. It acknowledges typically, that there is some higher power or being, either God or nature or what have you. Right? Religion, then, is the format and venue in which people can express that spirituality. It is all the rituals and rites and processes that help us connect with this higher power in as real a way as possible. It is the vehicle that will help us connect to the greater forces that guide the flow of the universe. People seek out religion typically for the spirituality. Consider that most people want spirituality in their lives, and that's why they go, in our case, to synagogue. They want to know that their lives mean something, and that in the challenges they face, there is an ultimate good that will come out of that. People want to know that when they do attend services and recite prayers and perform our rituals, Torah, the challah, the bread, the candles, and the wine, that their lives will be that much better. This week's portion is Naso. A major talks Naso, Nasim, or the princes or the heads of the tribe. A major part of the portion talks about how the princes of each tribe all brought items and animals for use in the tabernacle and by the priests, the Kohanim and the ministers, which were the Levites. What's remarkable is that each prince of each tribe brought the same items and without really being asked. They just wanted a gift. They were more than happy to contribute to this new budding institution of what became Judaism. By contrast, today, people are hesitant to contribute to synagogues, and many are struggling. The difference? Well, those people were surrounded by the Shekhinah of God's presence. The Shekhinah means like neighborhood, it means the presence. They saw the manna and the water that sustained them and the pillars of fire and clouds that protected them and gave them light. They witnessed the birth of the Ten Commandments, so the rituals and ceremonies made sense and they could pretty much relate to it. So even though we pray 3 times a day that we're thankful for God's miracles each day, it's as if we're just talking ourselves into believing that. Today, the closest thing we see to a miracle is finding a parking space close to the door of the doctor's office. We're so involved in our struggles, it's tough, almost hypocritical, to stop and give thanks. And yet, there are indeed things for which we can be thankful every day. Here we are, 3,000 years later, and Judaism still exists. We have the Holy Land back in our possession, and we are thriving. Individually, we still wake up in the morning and can get out of bed and go about our daily business. If you have issues considering that being a miracle, ask someone who's had hip problems, like myself, or some diseases, or they're old and they have trouble standing on their own 2 feet. Most of us have our 5 senses, and even people who are handicapped have resources available to help them thrive despite those challenges. So, where does that leave us? How does our synagogue promote spirituality? We need to go beyond just the words and the chanting and see what messages these Torah portions and our prayers have for us. We need to delve into what we are truly saying and then consider the answers. Spirit religion really needs to be spiritually relevant. This is really the question that we want to answer. Ultimately, the rituals and performances are there to imbue spirituality. It's really up to us to be receptive.